Hey guys, welcome back to another episode on Beauty Within, and it's your two favorite hosts,
Rowewe
and Felicia. So every year that comes around, we do a roundup and a projection of what we think are going to be the next skincare trends because, you know, within the year, so much happens. And I think 2020 has been a year that a lot has happened.
So this year is definitely a year for the books. I think Fel and I, although we are excited for a new year as always, we also like to see like the best or like try to find the best in any situation. And I think the silver lining of 2020 was that we got to spend so much time with ourselves, spend so much time learning, reflecting, and just looking inward. All that being said, this was a very tough year, so hugs all around. I'm gonna just give my hugs all around, hugs all around. Based off of our collective emotion and just everything that's been happening, including this new normal, we've pulled out 6 trends based off of Google Trends, based off of Pinterest, based off of just across all social media, across the web, things that we feel like will be the most up and coming and in the forefront of all of our minds in 2021.
And it's interesting to see that some of the points we mentioned for 2020 projections have not only surfaced and, you know, made its name in the skincare industry, but I think will actually prolong.
Yeah, it's like deepening, right? So for example, it's like Skinimilism. I think we mentioned that last year and we kind of giggled when we say that name because it's just such a fascinating pronunciation and like combination of words. But this year, because of everything that's happened, I think Skinimalism got like an even deeper and like broader meaning.
Yes, so without further ado, let's jump into the first one, Maskne.
Oh goodness. The first thing, Maskne skincare treatment. So before we get into skincare treatments, let's talk quickly about Maskne. Now that the new norm includes us to wear masks when we go out, which is, you know, it is the right thing to do, but because we do wear it for a prolonged amount of time, it can cause things like friction, it can cause things like your breath causing humidity within your mask, clogged pores. So with all of this combined, it could cause Maskne. So the official name for Maskne is acne macadamia.
Mechanica.
The official name for Maskne is acne macadamia.
We tried. And what arose from this is something called acne mechanica, and that is the official name that we found. And anytime that there's friction, rubbing, moist, damp on our skin, it's like just a given that bacteria and stuff will start festering on the face.
Pre-2020, where this form of acne shows up is mostly for athletes when they're sweating and then they're wearing caps or gloves or just things that just kind of seal in all of the sweat or just creates these more like humid and damp environments. So that was before. Now I think it's happening to a lot of us who had no idea that something like this existed, but here it is. And it is also very different from hormonal acne, which Fel can share more of.
Yeah, so I think right at the very beginning, you know, like especially when it was really bad in New York in March, and then we just started kind of like wearing all these new protective face masks and everything, me and my roommate definitely experienced like increased breakouts, and it's very different to hormonal, as Rose said, because like even though it's confusing because it might come up in the same areas because it covers like the bottom part of your face, right? And especially for people with already oily combination acne prone skin, you're like, what is going on? Yeah, but like, did you experience any?
No, I didn't really experience it because I feel like my skin is so dry already that if anything, it maybe like chafed a little. Yeah, it helped like moisten everything.
The growing pains. Okay, well, I speak on behalf of everyone who has experienced it. So we would see it like on the side of our cheek where it would constantly rub, and then I would get it around like, it was more the cheek area Whereas my hormonal acne, which I've understood very well at this point in my life, 28 years later, is it would come up on the chin and like maybe sometimes above the lip. So even though it's in the same kind of like bottom region, I think it's really important to know your skin and know where certain things come up so that if a new one comes up, you know that, oh, it's like mask induced or it's like hormone induced. So those are just like a little tip.
So taking this back to Maskne skin treatments, as with any smart marketer or entrepreneur or a business person with new issues, they'll come out with new solutions. So there's new masks that have colloidal silver as well as copper oxide that can help with the antibacterial properties. So Fel, what are your thoughts with this new boom of Maskne market?
I think like, you know, because people have problems like you said, obviously there has to be some solutions, but I kind of think if it's marketed as a skincare product specifically for Maskne, I'm kind of like, I don't really believe it, because if you look at the ingredients, it's the same. It's like soothing ingredients and also like almost acne fighting ones. But the only difference is they package it in like a spray form, so it makes it easier to kind of travel around. We've seen a lot of different sprays that you kind of spritz before putting on your mask, which I think is a really great idea. But at the same time, I think it's all about knowing your skin. So if you are to go out, for example, for like an hour, 2 hours, I say just like bring an extra mask that you can kind of swap out if you start to feel a little like nasty. And when you come home, just be more vigilant about washing your face or using a cleansing water, especially around that bottom region, so that any dust and bacteria that you collected while outside and is in the mask is properly washed off. And this is kind of just like proper hygiene, really. So my favorite combos for dealing with Maskne is combining an active ingredient like BHA or AHA, the really gentle chemical exfoliants that help to resurface the skin, and then pairing it with something like Centella asiatica, colloidal oatmeal, chamomile. And some examples are obviously like the BHA toning liquids from Paula's Choice, Pharmacy, Naturium, they all have the 2% ones, but also the sprays that we really love using.
Yes. So there's even a hack where you can spray your BHA toner into your mask before putting it on, so that throughout the day, it's kind of giving you that benefit of if your pores are being clogged or if your pores are feeling suffocated, the BHA will kind of help it along the way. A few other examples for Maskne that doesn't really require specific products. So for me personally, when I am biking or I know when friends are working out, they prefer the surgical mask because you can still breathe. Like your cousin who went to work out with like an N94 mask and then he just like almost fainted because he couldn't breathe, right?
Perished.
So yes,
oh
so that's the idea with like the fit of the mask and also the materials. Materials like cotton may feel better for your skin, but it may cause chafing still. So things that are more satiny or silk-like, that will be great for if you already have sensitized skin, if you already have, you know, irritation, or if your skin's already chafing, then reach for something more in that material.
It's funny because as you were saying that, I was like, this is exactly like skincare. You want to try a bunch and then you kind of find the one that works best in every situation. You know, sometimes you need more protection. Sometimes you want a little bit more circulation going on. And then there's the more like silky, nice ones. Maybe you want to look a little bit more put together. There's like so many options now. And the biggest one for me is that I can breathe and there's some sort of like air going on, because I find that is the biggest thing that can alleviate breakouts.
And a few other ways to kind of hack your mask is to put in sheets of tissue or even a cotton pad. If you have those rectangular cotton pads, put it inside your mask and you can swap that out on a more regular basis if you have a disposable mask or if you have a reusable mask, so that you don't need to go through them as quickly. And it also helps massively if you're wearing makeup or even something light like CC cream or even foundation, to not get that on the mask. And if you think of it, the more things you have layered onto your face on top of your skincare product, the more likely it is that your face will clog. So putting a tissue there really does help create like a little soft barrier, and then it will also help suck up the excess moisture.
Yes. Oh my God, totally. And because we've gone through our fair share of masks, we thought it'd be helpful to also put an option for you guys onto the store. And these are a pack of 3 and it's N94. So it's not like the N95 ones that, you know, nurses and surgeons wear, but it is definitely there to protect against finer particles, dust, bacteria, and I find this one, because it kind of comes in 3 compartments, we also wore it when we filmed at the nail salon. You can tell that there's a lot more breathing space while giving this kind of nice like wrap around the face that's a little, it looks clean. So that's an option for you guys. Okay, now moving on to the second trend that we saw, which kind of builds off the one that we previously mentioned, which is kind of AI personalized skincare, but this one is hyper-personalized. What are our thoughts?
So in 2020, we saw a lot of skincare companies coming out with their own quizzes and tests for you to answer any questions about your skin type. You share a photo of your face, and then licensed dermatologist or esthetician will look at that photo, analyze your photo, and give you your customized skincare. It works for some people, it may not work for some people. Some people like it, some people may think it's more gimmicky, but no matter what your thought is, I think it's an interesting way to kind of democratize and make, you know, something like a visit to the derm a bit more accessible. So 2021, what we're seeing and how it's different is that they're getting hyper personal, as Fel mentioned, hyper to the point where they want to analyze your genetic makeup. For example, a swab of your skin cells or a strand of your hair.
Literally a strand of hair you send in.
And when Fel told me this, the first thing I thought of was Black Mirror, that one episode called USS Callister, where the dude is so obsessed with this girl that he gets a strand of her hair from her trash can, they're like co-workers, and then creates a digital avatar version of her in his like computer simulation world.
Oh my God, yes. Like, isn't that just the most haunting and terrifying thought?
Yeah. And then the avatars within this simulation are also conscious.
You know what it made me think of? It's like in Charlie's Angels, the creepy thin man always wants to cut a lock of her hair and then he smells it. He's like, It really is creepy. Like, there is nothing, I completely understand, you know, the benefits on the surface because it kind of cuts the question out of finding certain products. You have someone who develops it and it's purely based on like your genetic makeup. But in that, I think there's a lot of, it's like quite invasive and it's combining skincare with almost like a 23andMe.
Yeah, it seems so far reaching, but I think privacy is also a part of it too, right? Like the privacy of your own genetic makeup and like having and owning your own DNA.
And we all have learned about the effects of how our phone is always listening as well, you know, targeted ads. Like me and Rowe will be talking about something and then I'll get an ad for it on my Instagram. So it's like, it's very real. And so when it comes to skincare, I think there's a huge like advantage to just learning through experience, you know, the old-fashioned way, and buying a bottle of something or like having a sample of something, putting it on your skin and seeing how your body reacts to it. As beneficial as it is having someone be able to tell you, like an expert based on your genetic makeup, I think there's a lost art if you're going to not go through the process yourself. So that's just our thoughts. But you know, bringing it back, I did really love Curology, which was like, you know, the customized skincare regimen where they don't take any of these scarier details about yourself, but based on a picture and whatever you select that you want to help with. And they pair you up with some sort of specialist on the other end. And that formula really did help my skin. There's also brands like Atolla. It was the Biologique Recherche. I never know how to pronounce that one. That was that was doing the beauty DNA. Yeah.
Acne
so
macadamia.
Just be very aware. We're on a roll with our pronunciation, man. Moral of the story, just be very aware about which categories they fall into and how much you're really giving away.
Moving on to the third point, which is skin minimalism or skin essentialism. So these two both are new terms, but I think 2020 has shed new light on what it means. So I feel like within the skincare community, we've all been pretty conscious since maybe 2019, 2020 about the types of products that we're using, whether we need a 10-step or whether we don't. But collectively as a world, one pandemic later, where we're all staying home and where we don't need to put on as much makeup as we maybe thought we needed to in the past, natural makeup for the world's population has been booming like across the board. So on Pinterest, there's 4 times as many users looking for natural glowing skin, and there's a 180% increase on Pinterest as well for people looking for natural everyday makeups.
And it'd be interesting to hear from you guys, like what your process was, you know, like if you did wear more makeup beforehand or if you didn't, like what it was and how this year kind of like changed your habits towards that. And I think actually going off of that point, I didn't used to cake on the makeup, but I did wear like foundation at least, especially when we film and all that. And this year was just like, it was nothing apart from the days that we do film. Like there was nothing on my face except, you know, sunscreen. And I think maybe that factor alone was one of the reasons why my skin completely cleared up this year. It was this year, you know, it was the Curology, it was the Haru Haru toner, the propolis serum, and no makeup. I think sometimes we forget that our skin is the largest organ. So, you know, you have to look after it. It has to go through its own detox. And this year really was this like inside out detox.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. And let's say if you used to not use as much skincare and you used a lot of makeup, and 2020 became a year that you used less makeup and more skincare. And you know, it just, that is the balance of life.
Yay, we're all on the journey together. But kind of moving on to our next point, grabbing the whole lifestyle element, is number 4, slow beauty as the new clean beauty. Okay. So we've all heard of the term clean beauty by now, and I think it really rose to fame in like 2019, and then it started getting like carved out in 2020, and we started realizing that there wasn't a lot to it. It was basically what brands wanted to market it as, and for consumers it really came down to what aspect of clean beauty you were looking for, whether it was sustainability, whether it was certain ingredients, whether it was fragrance free and phthalate free, and we talked, you know, to death about these things as well. But now we see the emergence of slow beauty. So what does that mean for them, Ru?
I think slow beauty, there's many aspects to it. So a part of it is through the process in which this product is made. And then I think the second part of that is the process in which you use it. So whether it be cutting down on the amounts of products that you actually need to use, or just your whole mindset and the way you consume these types of products. So for example, I think Patagonia, they're like at the forefront of just slowing down consumerism of, you know, you don't need this, and if your jacket has a hole, you can bring it back, we'll patch it up for you and we'll send it back to you. And another brand, Leah, our good friend for Crave Beauty, they dedicated at the beginning of 2020 that for the year, this whole year of 2020, they weren't gonna come out with any new products. So I think it's brand's dedication to slow beauty, and also the consumers, like how that affects consumers and how that's educating or inspiring consumers to also slow down.
And I think the core of it really is about intention. So brands are really looking into why and asking themselves why we're doing this thing, which is so much better than this label of clean beauty that just like, it was greenwashing. You know, everyone was like, oh my God, you use this, which is not healthy, right? No one should judge anyone else for using anything because everyone's on a different path and has a different starting point. And then on the flip side, as Ro was saying, it's like how we consume it, I think is really beautiful. Like letting the ingredients and letting time be able to speak for itself. And we're gonna do a really exciting collab with one of Ro's favorite toner brands very soon. And it really does come down to slow distilling of one ingredient to make this really great toner. Leave it below if you can guess what it is. But you know,
favorite toner of 2020.
Yes.
And it really is a great time for us to slow down and just, you know, sometimes even momentarily escape the craziness that is happening all around us. To be able to sit down in front of your vanity or just like stand in front of your mirror and like have your me time. Yeah. While you slow down.
So some brands that I can kind of like think of on the top of my head, I guess, that kind of fit this category is, I think for some reason I thought of Tata Harper, even though I haven't used a bunch of their products, but I think just the, you know, it's this new era of clean, I guess, seeds
Super
and all that stuff,
botanical
right?
concentrates.
Yes, which might not always work for everyone, obviously, but it is still one way of kind of like letting the ingredients shine. Also like Seoris and also like Haru Haru, there's like Ven, where the time aspect and the slowness of it is actually put into the development and the innovation of curating and creating these products. So that's also like one other approach.
Number 5, sleep care as self-care. I personally love the sound of this.
I know, right?
The term sleep care just put me to sleep already. So this is something very interesting. This is from the head of beauty partnership at Pinterest. This is her quote: "Sleep care is the new self-care. I think it's especially popping now because of the state of the world and because people need rituals." And I think this is so true. So as a society, I think we've gone through something collectively that we've never been through, and anxiety is at an all-time high, and there's all these feelings and all these emotions that we don't know how to process. So a lot of people are probably looking into how to sleep better, how to optimize sleep so that they can have, you know, a good day.
No, I love it because, you know, so much actually stems from our sleep. And this was something that I'm sure our parents always nagged us about. But even taking into context like traditional Chinese medicine approaches, like our circadian rhythm, our gut, every organ, like the kidney, whatever it is, it all has a specific role at a specific time when we're sleeping. And it's actually cleansing and rejuvenating and regenerating. And if you're not getting that time and letting your body heal, almost like your cells, they're gonna look dull, your skin is gonna look dull, you're gonna break out, you're gonna be in a really bad mood. Like we all know what we're like when we are sleep deprived. I don't have to tell you this, but it's cool because the more that this kind of comes to the surface, the more you can see how different aspects of self-care fit into it. So things like teas, you know, like a satin pillowcase, a diffuser, a humidifier, like candles, all of these to kind of just rest and calm our mind.
On another side, we have our supplements, like sleep supplements, that some I feel could help. And there are other things like melatonin, which is something your body naturally produces before you go to bed to help you kind of get into that sleepy slate and drift off into sleep. I remember my cousin was pretty reliant on that, and I even started using it because I had insomnia and couldn't sleep until like 3 to 4 a.m. every night. Over time, I realized for myself that I don't want to be reliant on these things if I don't have to. And then there's another aspect of it, which is sleep trackers. I know some of my friends absolutely love it. They'll have a Fitbit for fitness and like a sleep tracker for sleeping, and they love measuring everything in their lives, which I think there's nothing wrong with. But I think personally what I found is that I think we already measure so much of ourselves through our day-to-day lives that I think sleep is something that I just want to enjoy, and I want to try to hack by myself without the need of like looking at metrics and like freaking out or being like, oh my God, I wake up in the morning, I look at my phone, it's like, oh, I only got 4 hours of quality sleep when I was in bed for 8 hours, and it just gives you more anxiety. So this is just a very personal thing.
Totally. Because our bodies are so smart. We say that all the time. Our skin is smart, our body is smart. It's just when it's off balance. And I think one of the videos that I just did, which was all about our new ingredients for teas, I was looking into the stages of stress and anxiety and sleep. Because when we can't sleep, it's because our mind is going a trillion hours an hour, and we're thinking about this and we're thinking about this, and you're just like, what is it, Medusa full of thoughts, right?
Oh God.
So then that's where I found out about the power of adaptogens. Rowe gave me these 2 little like moon juice powder things that both contain different types of adaptogens, and adaptogens are basically plants and roots that help aid sleep deprivation, anxiety, and soothe and calm. Obviously, it's not going to be like instantly changing. It's not a drug, but it's a very natural source of it that has been used for thousands of years. So ashwagandha root, like this always, it always sounds so weird, but also like goji berry. And going back to that quote that you mentioned earlier about rituals, we highly suggest you guys find a ritual that you really enjoy. And I think smells are a great conditioner. You know, it conditions the mind to instantly enter a place or a memory. So if you start creating this like nighttime ritual before you go to sleep, you put down your phone, you light a candle, that smell every night will trigger your brain that, okay, it's time to like wind down.
And our last and final point is hair care as self-care. So this was a pretty big thing that we saw happening at the beginning of 2020, where a lot of blogs and a lot of magazines were predicting hair care as like the new thing of 2020. And I think in South Korea it was huge by the end of 2019, so it was a very natural progression. Here in the West it hasn't quite picked up yet, but because of all the staying in and not being able to go to salons and getting our hair professionally done, we're all at home trying to be like, how do I cut my bangs? How do I trim my hair? Like, can I color my own hair? How do I make it nicer? Like, why is it so dull? Like, what can I do? So we think 2021 we'll see an even higher increase in volume of people looking into hair care as a form of ritual, as we just said in the previous point.
And the funny thing is, I think one of the top searches, like Google searches, was how to cut my boyfriend's hair,
yes.
or like men's hair, or like girls' hair. You know, this was a widespread issue, I tell you.
Did you cut any boys' hair?
No. I think we just cut our bangs. No, but that was before it shut down. I just trimmed it.
I cut a boy's hair and made it look like a pineapple top. Cause you know how you
nice.
have to, I gave him like an undercut, but like at the top of his hair. So it's like a little toupee.
Oh my God. It's actually much harder than you think it is, because I used to cut my cousin's hair with the razor too. But you get to that fading area
and then
where you have to blend it in.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, what part of it should be long and short? Obviously know of brands like Function of Beauty. I really love Prose. There's the Ven shampoo, the probiotics one, the symbiotic shampoo, which touches on scalp health as well, because we forget that our scalp is also an extension of our skin and it can also get burnt. It also experiences dryness, flakiness, oiliness, everything that happens on our face. And I think Ro, like you had some experience this year with like overly oily scalp, and also your hair was falling out. Like, what was that dealio?
I have no idea. I think it might be a combination of staying in more, not going out as much, not maybe getting enough like fresh air or sunlight. It may be wearing more caps or hats that kind of just, it's kind of like Maskne, right? Where you wear a hat all day and then everything's just festering in there. And I think eating out a lot more, like or ordering out, because you know, just after a long day where you just can't be bothered cooking. All of that combined just kind of led to the hair loss. But I think as soon as I changed my diet, I think that's the first thing, drinking more water, eating healthier, going out for walks a bit more, that just like helped drastically make like a 180. And also I just stopped wearing hats because I feel like that was another contributor.
Maybe your cap was just on too tightly.
Yeah, and I think another thing is like my hair being oily. I could used to go for 4 to 5 days without washing my hair. As Fel would know, it would not look oily. It might smell like scalp, but it would not look oily at all, so I can get by that many days. But this year it's like I need to wash my hair every other day now, or else it gets like super greasy and like I can't even stand the smell of my own scalp. But the thing is, when I went to get my hair cut when we did have pockets of not as intense lockdown, my hairstylist was telling me that every single female that came in also said that they experienced more hair loss than usual. So
who knows? Yeah. And it might just be that, you know, because we're at home, we do finally realize how much hair actually is lost throughout the day. That could also be a thing. We just tried out the new Inky List, like whole array of hair treatments. And I really love the salicylic acid one for the scalp. When your hair follicles are clogged, it really adds to the dandruff aspect of it. So kind of like degreasing that as a pre-treatment before your shower was actually nice and refreshing. So there's brands that you probably see all over Instagram that have really like come out and made a name for itself, like the Olaplex. There's this brand DAE, Day, that has like some cactus extract that looks really good. Aveda's always really good, very natural. I love the smell of it. It's very earthy and like mossy, like you're in a rainforest.
Yes, they actually have one that's like moss.
But yeah, you know, the shower ritual in itself is also really important. That's where all our thoughts are. Shower thoughts.
Yeah, and on top of hair care products, which are more we think of like shampoo and conditioner, there's also brands like Crown Affairs who have come up with a whole line of products that includes like a microfiber towel that's good for hair and it won't tug your hair as much as maybe your traditional towels. They have combs, they have silk scrunchies. So just lots of brands are really going into this hair care game.
So anyways, notes aside, that is Rowe and I's projections for 2021. And I think we can all enter this year kind of feeling closer as humanity, like as a society, than ever before, you know? As funny as that sounds.
Yeah. So it's a word that I've learned recently called sonder, and the definition is the realization that each random passerby is living a life as vivid and complex as your own. And especially in the context of this year, we are definitely all experiencing our own lives, but also collectively experiencing this thing that we've never experienced before. And with that, we hope you guys all had a wonderful, wonderful new year and are as excited as you can be for a brighter and hopefully lighter future. We'll have our first brand focus video, as many of you guys have suggested. We asked you guys on Instagram which brands you prefer, so just keep an eye out for the new video coming out.
Yes. So until then, keep safe, keep happy, keep positive, and we'll see you very soon. Bye.